Good. Take it away, Ahmed.
Yep. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on membership development, recruitment strategies for new members. My name is Ahmed Irtali, and I serve as Director of Education at Ascension Network. It's my pleasure to open this session and welcome you all to our first educational webinar. Uh, as you know, membership growth and retention are the backbone of strong and thriving Rotary and Rotaract clubs. Today, we aim to explore innovative recruitment strategies tailored to the evolving needs of our clubs. Through this session, we will gain insights into how we can attract new members and create meaningful engagement opportunities. We are honored to have with us distinguished guest speaker and you guys, the Rotaract leaders who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in membership development. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our guest speaker, Michael Huey, and our moderator, Suhas, for joining us. And before we begin, here are a few housekeeping notes. So please keep your microphones muted unless speaking. Feel free to engage in the chat and submit questions during the discussion. We encourage participation, so please make use of the Q&A session to gain further insights. With that, I now turn it over to Suhas, who will introduce our panel and our speaker and kick off the discussion. Thank you. To you, Suhas.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our very first webinar. This is hopefully the start of something that will go on to be quite the series. We'd like to thank and introduce Mr. Mike Huey today. Mike Huey is a dedicated member of RI. He joined the St. Joseph and Benton Harbor Club in 2013 and has since made a significant impact through various leadership roles. He served as club president from 2021 through 2022 and club membership chair in 23-24. At the district level, Mike has demonstrated exceptional leadership as an AG from 2024 through the end of next year, and will continue his commitment to RI's mission as district membership chair from 2025 through 2028. Mike's passion for service and business acumen make him a very dynamic leader who inspires growth, innovation, and community engagement in every endeavor he undertakes. Mike has been gracious enough to have a presentation that he'll be going over first. So we're going to start with that. And then from there, we will break off into a Q&A. So Mike, you have the floor.
Thanks, Suhas and Ahmed. Yeah, so today I'm going to go through a presentation. I'm actually giving this at Calgary as well. So you guys get a kind of an early preview of this. And it's going to just be basically a story that I'm going to tell about our club and some of the insights that we gathered. Our club has been or was shrinking for many years, like a lot of Rotary. And so after being president and then getting involved a little bit in the district, as an engineer, I couldn't help myself but try to figure out the problem and see if I could solve it. So I jumped in and said, I'll be membership director for our club and see if we can't break this thing down. And we were able to go from 79 members and bring in another 20 the first year. And we're up about 11 to 12 this year so far. As well. And some of these basic things is kind of sharing my learnings of what we found that I'm going to share today. So with that, I'm going to pull up the presentation, I think. Uh-oh. It doesn't like sharing. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I think this always happens, right? So the good news is I have a brand new computer The bad news is that when the guy set it up, he didn't click the allowed button for me to share. So I'm going to call an audible and see if Ahmed, could you share the PDF that I sent you earlier, which was a good call, and see if he can share, and then I'll go through it. It's the same thing. And I guess I'll have to tell you when to change pages once it comes up. So the title of this is the 5 key steps to 25% growth. So um, I'm not sure how much everybody's studied sort of organizational change over time, but generally organizations, social organizations drop about 10 to 15% a year, just sort of natural attrition, people moving, people losing interest, whatever, which is pretty much what our club in St. Joe, Michigan. So we were established in 1918. And if you could go to share screen to blow it up a little bit. So our club was actually founded by Paul Harris. Go to the first page in 1918. And it grew for over 100 years, and we ended up with over 200. We ended up with about 225 members in the early 2000s, 2008. And we continue to lose 5 to 10 members a year for 20 years. And, we realized as the message kept coming out, we're shrinking, we're shrinking. What are we going to do? We need to do something different, bring in new members. That we had to change, fundamentally rethink of the problem and what we're going to do. So that's kind of the story here. So 2022 to 2023, we were shrinking about 6% net. We had about 34% female and 17% under 50. And our club decided we really needed to not only grow, but we needed to think about how we were going to grow and who we were going to grow. And so we put together some objectives of we need to turn this thing around and have a net growth of over, at the time, we said over 10%. So in 2023 to 2024, we brought in another 20 people. We lost 10 like we kind of usually did. So we ended up with a net 89 at the end of last year. Right now, we've brought in 11. We lost 5 in January. So we're still up positive net this year. And we have a goal of a net 15%. So we want to bring in 25%, lose 10. We don't want to lose 10, but basically we lose 10. So we're gonna get a net 15% growth year over year. We want our gender mix to be about 50%. We're currently at about 44%, which is great. We have 50 under 50. We wanted to continue to grow. We're at 32% right now, and our goal is 35%, and growing. And then we wanted to end up with 120 people by the end of 2006. So we got 2 years to grow. We're actually at 95, 96 as of next Monday. And so that's at 99. That was before we lost the 5 people and brought in a few people in December. So the 5 key steps, now go on to the next one's fine. The 5 key steps to really growing is what we learned was the first thing is the club needs to want to change. That's the fundamental. Like the members have to want to do the work and they have to want to bring in new ideas and new people. And be receptive to them. If not, you can kind of forget the next 4. The second one is knowing who you want to attract. So, to be able to go after and bring in new members, you have to kind of think through, and I'll go a little bit into the details on how we analyze that, but you want to know who you want to go after so that you can go to the places and talk to the people that you want to attract. The next one was organizationally at the time we were set up to have 2 people that were membership and it was their responsibility, and that clearly wasn't going to be successful. Counting on 2 people to bring in 25 people a year was not going to work. It hadn't worked for 25 years. It wasn't going to work going forward. So we needed to organize differently. The next one was we needed to include all of our members in growth. It needed to be a whole club effort, not just a committee or not just a couple of people. And then we needed to keep it top of mind. It needed to not be an annual thing where we talked about, oh, we need to grow new members. We need to like put a big initiative. And in July, we put a lot of effort to it. And then we wonder why we shrunk at the end of the year. So those were the real 5 key things that not only did I see in our club that changed it, but as I talked to a lot of other clubs, it was very similar for them. All right, next page. So wanting to change. So clubs lose, as I mentioned, 10 to 15% a year in membership. That's just people changing jobs, moving, losing interest, whatever. That's not just Rotary, that's like all kinds of different clubs or groups. The great news is that 1 in 4 adults in the United States so 63 million people are interested in being involved in community service. A lot of them are involved in community service, but if you think about us having, 500,000 people, 400,000 people in the US involved, and we have 63 million that are interested, and we have the largest organization for community and global service in the world, the opportunity to explain to them what they get by becoming a Rotarian and being connected to like-minded, service-oriented people, both in their own community, but all the way around the world, is an amazing opportunity, an opportunity to share with them what Rotary can help them with their mission and their passion. So there's people interested in community service, networking, prestige, youth programs, international programs, leadership development are all things people are wanting to get involved in for being involved in a community service group. Okay, next. The next one is really wanting to know who who you're trying to go after. And we started looking at, we had a gap in our public image. So one of the gaps that we wanted to go after is see if we can't find some people in the community that are in the marketing and social media and website space. And so we brought in a young person to us. She's 30 years old, but she works in an advertising agency in the marketing space and loves social media. So we brought her in. A couple months later, she took over public image, created a whole team around her, and she loves what she's doing and is super engaged. She's actually a president nominee now. She's so involved in our club. But are there professions you want to attract? Are there certain passions? We ended up creating an environmental committee because we ended up bringing in 4 new members who were passionate about environment. We said, well, why don't you create a committee and help us create these experiences for the whole club? So they did, and we've actually attracted more people interested in environmental because now we have a committee in our club that's around environment and involved in different activities. What ages, genders, ethnicity, skills, all these different areas, kind of thinking about if you think 4 or 5 years out, what do you want your club to look like? We wanted it to look more like the community, and we wanted to also have a very diverse professional organizational structure. All right. Next one was organizing for growth. Having a couple of people responsible. One of the things that we realized was that membership really is 3 different things. And there's 3 different personality types that really fit into these things. There's the attraction one that is really the outgoing, really connected person who is talking to everybody, wants to go into the community and tell all their stories about it and bring people in. They're kind of the sales personality. And then there's the engagement person. That's more the mentor, the person who really wants to care for other members that are coming in and make sure that they're happy and engaged. So we created an engagement committee. And then the last one is retention. That's somebody who really wants to look at the members' long-term relationships and try and make sure that they're, if somebody's not been there for a while, they notice and they're reaching back out to re-engage them. And we broke that into 3 subcommittees with 3 different leaders. And that seemed to really work well because the attraction committee is like all energized about getting into events and going and build tents and going to events and attracting new people, bringing in new members. Engagement is then grabbing them when they join and making sure that they're being part of they're getting enough out of it, they're connected to the right people and that kind of thing. All right, next one. So this one really goes through attraction a little bit more. Are we visible in the community? One of our realizations is we kept talking about membership growth and we didn't have a tent. We didn't have flyers. We weren't going out into the community to any events to even explain what we were about or what we were doing. And so we did some basic stuff. We got a tent, we got some flyers, we went to some farmers markets and some basic events, which I'll share a slide from, sharing our Rotary story. So a lot of our members were afraid to talk about Rotary, and it's not like you have to have all the data. You just need to tell your story. Why are you in it? Why are you passionate about it? And that kind of thing. So this was a fall festival. We borrowed a tent from somebody else because we didn't have a branded tent because we didn't want to wait. It was fall festival. So we grabbed a bunch of things. We laminated some of the events that we did. We stuck them up on the side of it, blew up a bunch of balloons. We wanted to attract parents of young kids, so like interact parents. So we said, well, how can we do that? Well, let's do a bunch of little gift giveaways and a beanbag toss. And if it attracts a bunch of kids that come do the cornhole and they win, they get a gift. Well, what are the parents going to be doing while the kids are doing this game? They're going to be talking to us about Rotary and telling them about, and we don't look like the traditional Rotary Club, right? So that was part of what we were trying to do is what you thought was Rotary. This isn't it, right? 3 out of 5 are female, and the other 2 are just great looking guys. So that's just totally different. So anyway, we had about 200 visitors. We had 20 people that are interested that signed up to know more about Rotary, and we had 3 new members join from that single event. And so we're doing more and more of those. I think the 200 visitors that talk to us about Rotary is just as important as the 3 members because eventually they're going to hear for the 3rd or 4th time, and they're going to say, I want to be part of Rotary. Okay. So organizing, or engagement. So one of the things we also realized is we would bring in new members. We didn't really know exactly why they were joining, and then we left it up to them to figure out how to get the most out of Rotary. And so we flipped that around, and now we actually do, and I'll share a little bit, an engagement plan before they join. I do 2 sessions. One is an understanding or discover Rotary. So they understand everything about Rotary and a lot about our club before they ever put an application in. And then the second one, before they join, they go through orientation and we ask them to fill out an engagement plan. So all the stuff that we do, Rotary International and our club, check off 3 or 4 things that you want that are the most interesting to you. Do you want to be part of Interact? Do you want to do international projects? Do you want to be in our Rotary Club Foundation? Do you want, what do you want to do that was really inspiring? And so we have them fill out and they check off, and I'll show it to you. Check off a couple of things. So when they join the same day, I can walk around and introduce them. Okay, this is our foundation chair. He'll tell you all about Rotary International and the foundation. This is our youth services chair. He'll get you involved in Interact, and they get off the day they join, they're connected to the people that they're most passionate about being part of Rotary for. And so they hit the ground running. Half of our board is new to our club within the last year and a half because they come in so energized. So this is what the engagement plan. All these boxes are things they could get involved with. I tell them probably pick 3 things, 3 or 4 things. You can always do things in the future, but you probably aren't going to be able to do this many. So pick 3 things that you'd like to be part of. And then they fill that out. And it's a whole deck on every one of these has a page that they go through. So it explains all of those, what it takes, and that kind of thing. The last one is retention. So we started realizing there were people that were just part of that 10 to 15% decline is people just kind of losing interest. They've been in it for a long time. They get involved in something else and they get distracted. And we realized that maybe a third of them, if we just noticed that they weren't coming and then recognized them, sent them an email, invited them back, got them a little bit involved, asked them to be chair of the day, asked them to do something, be their greeter for the day. They'd come back in, they'd get acquainted again with all the members, they'd get excited again, and they'd start coming back. And so that really worked. And it was not a lot of work, but somebody needed to be watching it. And so now we kind of we have somebody who's kind of watching for the people that are not showing up, and that kind of thing. And the next one is including all the members. All the members should kind of have some ideas. I call them the passions. So when you're talking to somebody about Rotary, it's really not about them joining Rotary or joining a club. It's trying to understand them. It's trying to understand and almost everybody I talk to, there's some thing beyond their getting up in the morning and going to bed at night. There's some passion that they'd like to be involved with, or something that they'd like that is connected to something Rotary could probably help them with. And these are just some that I've mentioned. They've moved to town. Well, we have 100 people that are in every different leadership role in the community. How would you like to meet them? Right? You're going to get connected to a wide network of community people, leaders. You have kids in school. How about youth programs? We've got Interact, and we've got, multiple programs. We got other parents that are involved in doing this. You can meet other parents and you can participate with your kids, which, by the way, is why I joined, because of Taylor. Environmental, that we added that one, as I mentioned the last couple of years, we added environmental. There's a lot of people interested in the environment these days. They mentioned that. We talk about environmental initiatives that we're doing in the environmental committee. You may want to, through Rotary, you can get involved in that at a local level, a district level, or even a global level. Leadership development or mentoring, if they're, looking for opportunities to look at a different profession, or they're younger and they're wanting some opportunities for career development. Rotary is an amazing opportunity. I mean, you guys are all on this call in leadership roles. So these leadership roles are great for your career. Being able to take on coordinating, speaking, facilitating, all those different things are great for your career development. Community involvement, and then global interest. So some people are involved in wanting to do things for the world. Well, great. We have one of the largest global philanthropic organizations in history that you can participate in. All right, next one. This was just making sure it wasn't a one-time thing. We ended up seeing that membership was something we talked about in June, July, and August. And we said, I need to bring this up. As we bring in new members, we do happy bucks. So I do happy bucks every time we bring in new members. If we hit a goal, I do happy bucks. I talk about, hey, we got a pipeline that needs to get filled. Everybody think about somebody and you didn't ask them, but they'd probably be a great Rotarian and they're just waiting for you to ask. Our district governor right now was in our area. Nobody ever asked him to be Rotarian until he moved to a different town. And now he's district governor of our district. So it's really trying to find ways to celebrate membership growth and keep it top of mind for our club every month. So these are the 5 keys. First, the club has to want to grow. Secondly, you need to know who you want to attract. Organize yourself for growth so you can go after that. Include everybody in the growth efforts so that you have everybody thinking about bringing in new members, and then constantly keeping it top of mind so you don't forget and it becomes an initiative that goes away. You got to keep it going. With this, I attach, these are all 5 different links to a membership survey that you can actually download and modify. If you click on the membership pipeline, that's something I created that I share with our board. So it goes from, here's somebody who's interested, here's somebody who's gone through Discover Rotary, here's somebody who's in the application process, here's somebody who's gone through orientation and they've joined. And so we think about it as a pipeline. We want to constantly be bringing in new interested people, and that kind of thing. Discover Rotary, I've had 100% of the people I took Discover Rotary through have joined our club. So that's just a basic presentation that you guys could copy and make your own that you wanted. It's one of the things I'm sharing at Rotary International. Grab it, modify it. It just walks through like 8 pages of Rotary International's history, a little bit about your club, just to give it an overview. It's a non-pressure event where it's just somebody coming to learn more about it. If you don't want to join, that's fine. But if you're interested in knowing more, go to one of these things. It's about 30 minutes long. And then you can either join or go to a meeting or don't or whatever, but it's and that kind of thing. And then Rotary Engagement Deck, which is the one I just talked about, where they go through all the things they can do, and then they fill that out beforehand. And with that, open for questions. And that's a QR code to this presentation I can't share.
All right, so never mind, we will not be sharing the slide deck after the meeting. How questions are going to work. First of all, thank you so much for presenting. So how questions are going to work is put your questions in the chat, or just raise your hand and I'll ask you to come off mute if you want to do that. Let's go with your questions first. We do have a myriad of experience here, not just Mike, but a lot of Ascension people So if there's a question that you feel like that like anybody here has the uh, has the expertise to answer, by all means, take a crack at it. And after everyone here has finished with their questions, I have a list of questions from those who couldn't attend this meeting that also would like to ask you about some things membership related. So with that, does anyone have a question? Liz.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for this presentation. I didn't know how much I needed to have this conversation tonight until I heard your presentation. So thank you so much. So I'm currently in the process of joining an in-person Rotary Club. I was in an online space where they had Zoom meetings. And so I'm going through the traditional membership process of being in a Rotary Club. And, as someone who's been in Rotary before, I kind of know what's going on. I understand. But we actually have this young gentleman who has been coming to the club as well, who doesn't know anything about Rotary. And the club that I'm intending to join has about 80 members with only 30 to 40 showing up each week. And I believe that they see membership as kind of a non-issue for them. And it's kind of unfortunate because you have a young gentleman here who is starting to establish his career and establish himself in the community. And I don't know what to say to my club about the fact that no one is engaging him. No one is going through those pillars. He was attracted and brought in because his dad knew someone in the Rotary Club, but his dad and anybody he knows in the community that he grew up with, like he moved from a different community, so he doesn't know anybody. And so he joined this Rotary Club, and I'm a prospective member as well, so I'm talking to him about Rotary and things like that, but no one in the club who's been an established member is really kind of taking him under their wing, and not necessarily that they need to do that, but I don't even know how to approach the situation because nobody else is taking the time to talk to him or get to know him or ask him what he's interested in. And I'm not even sure anyone asked him up until this past Monday when I was at the meeting about what he did or what he was interested in and what he was looking for. And I honestly don't even know what to say to this club. And so I'm curious to see what you have to say as someone who's been an AG. And this was really a wonderful presentation. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are about kind of engaging, with the membership committee and see.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So it's why the first step is the first step. So, we were shrinking, as I said, 5 to 10 members a year. And I saw it as a burning platform that we needed to figure out how to change. We were also, our average age was, I think, 68, something like that, or 70. And that was a challenge too for longevity of the club. And so I just painted a picture when I walked in. I said, I'm going to be, I'm involved in the district, but I need to figure out how to get our club to change and grow so I can see if I can't share that broader with the district. And so I said, if we sit around and we continue to do what we're doing, I don't know if you saw the Ford quote, but if you continue to do what you're doing, you're going to continue to get the same results. I said, if we continue to do this, in about 15 years, there's going to be 8 of us sitting in this room. Right. And I said, I don't think that's what anybody wants or the right thing for a club that is over 100 years old and has a $2 million foundation. And then there's 8 of us sitting here because we didn't bring in or invite new members. I said, we have to figure out how to grow and we have to figure out how to be welcoming to new people and willing to change what we do, and be adapted to their passions. And they bought into it and they were willing to change and we were able to do that. But I think the first step is the club has to realize that they need to grow and therefore they need to do the work to invite people and then be welcoming and engaging and aware. It's easy to get into cliques. It's easy to go see your friends that you've seen for the last 15 years and here's my chance to catch up. And it's easy to go sit at the same table and do the things. And it's just kind of human nature. And part of realizing you need to grow is looking for people you don't know and looking for being welcoming and look at the experience that they have. Do they walk in the door and find a welcoming, smiling face? and somebody who's there to help them, connect with somebody, or are they meeting, an empty table or a room of all these people in these cliques and you feel like you're not part of it? And so we did a lot of self-reflection to create a more welcoming experience. But through that, and I will say it gets better, because what happens once you get 20 new people and you had 80, now you have 25% of the people are brand new. Now we've probably got 35 to 40% of the club is within the last 2 years. They're all open to change and welcome, because they don't know what it was like 5 years ago or 20 years ago. And so they're just used to it. It's supposed to be welcoming. It's supposed to be high energy. I'm supposed to go meet new people and be, connecting with new people, because that's what it does. I mean, that's what our club does. And so kind of getting through that transformation. But the club really has to want to, because I know there are stories where clubs just have no interest in bringing in different people or changing what they want to be, or they just want to be that. But hopefully that's not your case. And a lot ours, I would have guessed that ours might have been that way, and they were not. They changed. They wanted to change.
We're gonna see what happens, because luckily Pets is this weekend, and the guy who's connected to him but isn't really talking to him is going to be an AG. So I get to speak with him, and then I get to speak with the incoming club president. So
There you
hopefully
go.
we can create a dialogue about getting this young person in, because I think it would be really great. Other than myself, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone else is younger. So, trying to accommodate and figure it out. So hopefully
Yeah.
we'll see. But thank you so much.
I will add to that one thing that we kind of discovered, which may be obvious, but it makes it a lot more comfortable if you bring in groups of people that are of the same whatever. They same ethnicity, same age, same profession, same whatever. So kind of finding a group of people that are younger that are in the environment, they kind of look for each other, and then they feel comfortable, with that group. And same thing with other ethnicities or professions. Like the lawyers like to talk to each other, the doctors and teachers like to kind of hang out. So as long as it doesn't become too much that, but it does help. If you're like walking the room and you're the only young teacher, you're going to feel weird. Right.
Alrighty. Does anyone have any other questions? Ahmed?
Yeah.
Also, please introduce yourself and what club you're from, if you want to.
So yeah, thank you again for the presentation. It was very insightful, and I learned actually good strategies, and I will take it with me. So thank you again. My name is Ahmed Al-Tali. I'm from the Rotaract Club of Washington, D.C., USA. I'm just curious about like the challenges your club is facing when applying such a strategy or such a plan. Have you witnessed any like resistance from your members? Was there any one of the pillars or the 5 steps didn't work very well when you try to apply it over the last period? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that the first year when we talked about opening up and who we wanted to attract and who we wanted to be in the future, there were some people that had been in the club a number of years who just were not aligned to that. They wanted it to be as it was 15 years ago and not change. But we realized that if we continued to try and just do what we were doing, we're going to be 8 people in 10 years. Right. And so we don't really have a choice. We need to become more diverse. We need to grow our club. We need to get different people in the community to be effective. And therefore we need to change. And, we didn't want them to leave, but they kind of chose that they didn't want to be part of that. That was if you remember, I went from 79, brought in 20 and lost 10. Probably 8 of those 10 were people who just decided that because the direction we were going, they didn't want to be part of. But the rest of the organization felt like, we have to figure out how to grow, 10 or 15% a year. I would like our club to grow to 150 and then split. and then become like a morning club and an afternoon club or something, whatever, to find a way to, because I think 75 to 150 is a great size. When you get bigger than 150, I think it becomes a little too big. And then, well, I mean, I haven't been in one yet, but it feels like that would be a lot of people. It'd be more like an event versus a club where you get to know everybody. And then, but below 30, 30 is really tough. I three of my clubs are, or two of my clubs are below, three of my clubs are below 30. And they have a hard time just covering the administrative parts of club. And so I'm really pushing, how do we get you from this, 9 or 10 people club where they have a hard time even covering the just being a club to 30 people? Let's go in a blitz community activity to attract another 20 people to get them to 30 so they can ease up a little bit on how much the requirements on admin for the club is and start doing more activities. They'll become more attractive to other people because they'll be doing more things. And so that's one of the things I'm actually planning for spring is a blitz, professional blitz in their community to try and bring in a bunch of more people for their club.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Next up is Taylor.
Hello. I'm not going to introduce myself, but you had mentioned that there were about 200 people that had signed up with some interest at the community event that you were at, that you were tabling at, and there were only a handful that followed through and then kind of took those additional steps for Discover Rotary. Has your team done anything to follow up with the additional 200 people that have not followed up since then, or done any sort of reach out campaign?
Yeah, so the numbers actually were, the 200 was the people that we felt, it was a guess. About 200 people came by our booth during that period of time, and talked to us about Rotary and kind of did the beanbag toss thing with their kids. The 20 was the people that actually gave us their email and signed up and were interested. And we did a campaign out to them a couple of times. And then we ended up doing some initial, this was actually before Discover Rotary. But we did some initial invitations to join us and talk about Rotary, and then come to a meeting and that kind of thing. And then we had like 5 did that, and then 3 joined. What we didn't do in the attraction committee is keep those 20 people's emails and keep following up, which is one of the things that we realized a few months ago. Is we did it a few times, but we kind of, after they didn't respond a couple of times, we kind of just stopped. And so it's an opportunity. I will tell you, I was amazed. I was on a zone conference on membership, and in the Newfoundland, there was a club in Newfoundland who does not go out into the community and does not do membership growth through trying to invite people. And yet they have significant growth. It's entirely through their online presence of their social media, them posting stuff and having a sign up to learn more opportunity when they see these things in social media in Newfoundland. And they bring in like 15, 20 new members a year. And it's all automated. And we don't do that at all. I'm like, wow, if I do what I'm doing and I do what they're doing, we're going to be in like 40 people a year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyone else?
We had really simple stuff. Like we do one of the largest track meets in Southwest in Michigan for like the last 60 years. We invite, I think it's 12 or 14 high school track meet teams to come and compete. We didn't have a branded tent. So nobody that went to this thing, there's like, I don't know, 800 parents and people from all over the community in our Southwest Michigan didn't know that it was sponsored by our Rotary Club. It was simple stuff. It was, so this last year we put up posters. We got the branded tent out there so they knew when we were announcing things, it was sponsored by Rotary. So it was just taking some simple steps to think about when you're out in the community, make sure people realize wearing shirts. We all had Rotary shirts, and so somebody's going to say, what are you guys doing? That looks like fun. And they're going to say, oh, and they're going to see Rotary and they're going to go, oh, well, what do you guys do and how do I join? Or how can I be part of that?
I have a question from a club in Trinidad. They're asking, how does a brand new club without without any experience making events get its first few members? What are some te techniques for that?
I am a big believer in passions, and it's the affinity of passions that I think goes all the way back to, um, Paul Harris wanting to do good in his community in Chicago, finding like-minded business people that would also passionate about the same thing, and then connecting those. So even if there's two people and you're both passionate about something similar, youth development, making a difference for feeding people in your community, doing something for the environment, just talking to other people about it. I think the connection of passion is where the club makes sense, right? Because you're coming together to organize around something you're passionate about. And I or at IA, so my wife is going to be district governor. I had the opportunity to go with her down to IA, and it sunk into me that, they keep talking about creating satellite clubs. And I was like, I don't know about satellite clubs. It's going to peel off a bunch of people to become a different group. And the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, it's just sub passions. It's like, I want to be part of the club, but I can't meet in it. Either it's structural problem, so I can't meet. So we have lawyers and teachers. They can't meet in the middle of the day. Some of them have been in our club for like 30 years. They're judges. We know they can't meet, but they want to go to the track meet. They want to be part of our foundation. They want to be part of ringing bells for Salvation Army. They want to do these different things. They want to know all the different members. They want to go to social events, but they can't do that. Well, we were like, well, what if we were to create a satellite that met on Saturdays or met in the evenings or talk to them and go, so when would you guys like to meet? And they become a satellite because right now they just don't, they're not part of it at all. So it was like a way to be part of Rotary, but kind of make it in your own way. If you just want to do activities and you don't want to go to the meetings, fine. If you want to be just doing environmental stuff, fine. If you just want to do polio, fine. You can create these satellites. If there's enough people who have common passions, you can just group them, bring them together, and that passion will fuel each other. And then Rotary's kind of the infrastructure, the organizational structure to allow that to grow because you are all in the same group. You've got like connections to tons of resources, whether that's district grants or mentors or connections all over the world, um, that kind of thing. I don't know. Did that help, Trinidad? I think I know Trinidad.
Let's see. Another question I have from my bank of those who couldn't make it here is what role does the sponsoring club play in trying to grow membership?
This, oh, the sponsor of a member.
So with
Or,
our clubs, we're usually sponsored by one of your clubs,
okay,
right?
for
So
Rotaract.
like,
Yeah.
yep.
So I have an interesting opportunity as a AG. We're actually starting a new Rotary club that we're chartering. I'm hoping this coming week, and so I think it's similar in that I feel like my role as the sponsor is to leverage all the organization, make it easy. All the things that the tools, the capabilities, the decisions, not make the decisions, but offer up the opportunities that the new club has and make it easy to be a club. Because as new to whether it's Rotaract or Rotary, I don't even think you know what you don't know, right? That's what I realized in starting this new club is they don't know what the role of a secretary is supposed to be, or a treasurer, or a president, or that you're supposed to meet, and what does a board do, and what are bylaws? None of that stuff do they know. And I'm like, look, you don't let me help you define all that. You can change it all you want. But let me give you at least the semblance of some structure and insights in how this whole thing works and some things that other clubs do to see, again, I'll go back to passions. If your club is really, if you're members are really interested in some of these things these other clubs do that they love doing, then maybe that's something you guys want to adopt. And I think that's the sponsor, I think's job is to bring in things from around Rotary, insights and whatever, and share those with the club to help them become the best them they can be and share what they don't know. Because there's no way they're going to know what other clubs around the world have done that they love doing or what's even possible. And so this club has kind of evolved. I gave them basically job descriptions. I said, change them all you want, but here's what I created for our club. At least you know what a secretary is supposed to do, kind of, or what ours does. And then here's some of the activities that we do. And then here's some activities that other clubs do. And then if there's ones that hit, and they're not even a club, and they did a Boots for Kids project this year. So they got fundraised, bought a bunch of boots, took them to the high school or elementary schools, and gave boots to kids that didn't, they were walking in tennis shoes in Michigan in a foot and a half of snow. And so, they felt great about that. They all felt good about it. Now they're growing into youth services. They're wanting to start an Interact and they're wanting to get that going. So I'm connecting them to, people that are being real successful, inviting them to go to another Interact meeting at our club and our high school so they can see what is all that? What is an Interact meeting? What do the kids do? What do the parents do? Or the sponsors and mentors? And so it's just, I think, being that conduit connector to the club to help them kind of figure out what their passions might be and become the best them. I've also shared the Discover Rotary thing so they can use it and this whole the 5 keys of growth so that they're also starting to think about membership growth and how they attract other professions in their community and that kind of thing.
Ready? We have a question in the chat from Kezia. She says, what suggestion would you give to a university club to deal with / assist in these succession planning and club continuity? And this is because you're acting usually with our college clubs every 4 years that you lose all of the seniors, right? You lose a quarter of the club, and that's usually the board. So
I'm delegating that to Taylor.
All right, let me just read it really quick. Ooh, yeah. Documentation is an incredibly important piece of the succession planning, specifically for university clubs. I've supported some, or I guess we through Ascension have supported some university clubs where quite often the entire leadership team will be in their final year of university. And this happens for community-based clubs as well, but they'll either all graduate or they'll all take jobs and move across the country or move to a different country in some cases. And all of that knowledge that's in everyone's brain is with them. So if it's not documented and shared with whoever incoming leaders are, all of that information just goes away. But kind of tied with that, one thing that we did with the university-based club that I was a part of previously, we had a rule in our bylaw that the president and I think also the vice president, or it was at least 2 of the positions, I think maybe president and secretary, needed to plan to be on campus for at least 1 additional semester. So essentially what that meant is whoever was leading the club could not be a senior. And that helped ensure that that knowledge was shared and that mentorship continued even after the president was no longer president. We have it pretty easy in the Rotary space in comparison because usually past presidents continue to maintain their membership in clubs. It's a little bit more tricky with university clubs, so you have to be creative, I guess, if you will.
I'm going to jump into
Yeah,
because we have a really good story of that. So Liz Roach was the president of the USF club in 2019, and I was the president of that same club in 2024. and we've been able to keep up our membership, and now we're actually one of the biggest college clubs here in the US. There's quite a few things that work, but it's going to be different for each college club. So for example, at USF, we try to make sure that two board members for each two board members for each year are either freshmen or sophomores, just so like by the time they get to be juniors and seniors, they kind of understand like this is how board meetings work, this is how things go. We also try to make it easier through the use of training materials and standards. And on top of that, we think having yearly annual events that happen every year makes it easier as well. That way, if there's something that goes on, right? If there's something that goes on, like, right at the start of March every year, and there's a blueprint on how that event needs to go, even if the president leaves and graduates, there's still a blueprint, there's still people who know how to do it, and there's still a plan that's been going on for the last 10 years, right? So those are just some things that you can do. There's quite a lot that you can do. I definitely think passion, going back to what Mike said, if people are passionate about something, it doesn't matter if a quarter of the club goes and graduates, that passion will still stay. One thing I did as president was I had a rule that says, if you're passionate about something, who am I to go and get in your way? So if someone was really passionate about like marine biology and they really wanted to do a project to go and clean up the ocean, right? Who am I to go and stop them? We would just go and support and be like, hey, you may be a freshman, you may be a sophomore, but I can see that you really love this cause. So by all means, go and run it. We're here to support. We're here to teach. And that way they'll get some experience managing a project and managing a service event, so that by the time they get to be on the board or get to be the president, they have that under their belt. I'm not sure if you want to add some stuff, Liz.
I think passion is actually a really good term to define what happened too, because Suhas, how many people were in the club when you graduated?
Officially 91, unofficially like 770.
Right. And like within what, our 5 to 6 year span, I joined that club with 6 members. And the reason why it grew to 20 or 30 members by the time that I graduated was because we actually had Rotary alumni, people like myself going through RILA. We had people whose family were in Rotary, and that was their passion, was to do the service through Rotary, and that essentially helped grow the club. And then we were able to take on those leaders, those other types of passions, what we were interested about in the Tampa Bay community, and that continued to flourish and grow and develop when we had good leadership as well, to continue that. But yeah, so thanks, Suhas.
Actually, Colin's here in this meeting. I'm gonna put you on the spot. He's a really good example. He was never on the board in our club, but he's really passionate about gardens and he's damn good at running a farm. So we just said, hey, do you want to go run Ebor, which is a garden that we do, and he's done a great job at that, right? So
yeah, thank you.
yeah, did we help answer your question, Kezia?
Yes, you did. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Alrighty, with that, we're almost out of time. I'm gonna hand things back off to Ahmed.
So again, wow, this was very engaging. So thank you so much. As we wrap up, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to our speaker, Mike Rui, and to our moderator, Suhas, for leading such engaging discussion, and to our participants for making the time and for your questions and engagement. Your insights into membership recruitment strategies have provided us with valuable tools and perspectives to strengthen our clubs and communities. I encourage each of you and encourage myself as well to take what you have learned today and apply it within your perspective or respective clubs. Collaboration is a key, and by working together, we can strengthen and our impact across communities. As a next step, we will be sending a post-webinar email with the recording, with the links and some information. In addition, we will share a feedback survey, which will help us improve future sessions. Once again, thank you so much for all your participation and engagement. We appreciate your commitment to growing and strengthen your clubs. Looking forward to seeing you and seeing the impact you make, and stay tuned for upcoming webinar, and we will share all the information in our email. Have a great evening, everyone, and see you soon. Thank you.